In the middle of the stars, floating quietly in the dark space, there was a giant space station named Arc-7. It was big like a city, full of aliens from different planets, tall ones, strong ones, dangerous ones. And among all of them, there was a tiny alien named Zira. Zira was only 4 feet tall. She had soft purple skin, big glowing eyes, and thin hands. Her head had 2 short antennae that always moved when she felt strong emotions. She was smart, quiet, and quick. But no one noticed her. She worked as a cleaner on the lower levels of Arc-7. Her job was simple: clean the corridors, pick up trash, and stay out of the way. Every day, the other aliens ignored her. Some even laughed when she passed by. "You'll never be more than a bug," one large reptilian guard had told her once. She didn't answer. She never did. She just lowered her head and kept walking. But deep inside, Zira dreamed of more. At night, she looked out of the small window near her sleeping pod and watched the stars. She imagined being part of something bigger, flying a ship, exploring planets, or just being seen, not as a cleaner, not as a joke, but as someone who mattered. She also had a secret. Zira liked watching humans. They were strange, loud, and always full of emotion. Most of the other aliens on Arc-7 didn't like them. Humans were kept as workers, sometimes even prisoners. But Zira saw something different in them, something warm, something honest. She often walked past the human section during her cleaning rounds. Just a glance through the glass doors, just a second or two, but her eyes always searched for them. One day, something changed. Zira was pushing her cleaning cart through the level 9 cell block when she saw a group of guards dragging someone into the prison area. It was a human, tall, strong-looking, but badly hurt. His clothes were torn, and his face was bruised. Blood ran down his arm. Zira froze near the wall, hiding behind her cart. She peeked carefully. The guards opened a cell and threw the human inside like a sack of garbage. The door slammed shut. The human groaned but didn't cry out. He slowly sat up against the wall, breathing hard. Zira stepped forward. She looked around. No guards, nearby now. Quietly, she opened a hidden compartment in her cart and took out a small water pouch. She knew she could get punished for this, but something in her heart pushed her. She walked to the bars and knelt down. The human saw her and blinked, confused. He didn't speak. He just watched her carefully, ready to defend himself. Zira pushed the pouch through the bars without a word. The human stared at it for a second. Then he took it and drank slowly. His eyes stayed on her the whole time. When he finished, he let out a soft breath and said quietly, "Thank you, little one." Zira didn't move. Her eyes went wide. Her antennae twitched. Nobody had ever thanked her before. Not in all her years on Arc-7. The human's voice was soft but full of feeling. It wasn't fake. It wasn't mocking. It was real. Zira stood up quickly and turned away. Her heart was beating fast. She walked away without looking back. But as she pushed her cart around the corner, a small smile appeared on her face. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. From that day, Zira's cleaning rounds began to slow down near the human cell block. She always checked if the tall human was still there. Sometimes she brought him a bit of food, a bandage, or just clean water. He never asked for anything, but he always said thank you. And Zira? She began to feel something strange inside, something warm. She didn't know his name yet, and he didn't know hers, but something had started, something small, something strong. Secrets in the shadows. Zira's days became filled with a secret mission. Every time she passed the human cell block, her heart beat faster. The tall human prisoner was still there. He looked weaker than before, bruises fading but eyes sharper, full of quiet strength. She learned something new about him. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his voice was calm and serious. Zira wanted to know more, but she was afraid. If the guards caught her helping a prisoner, punishment would be severe. She could lose her job, or worse. Still, she couldn't stop. One evening, when the corridor was empty and the lights dim, Zira crept closer to the cell. She had brought something special, a small cloth soaked in antiseptic to clean his wounds. She heard footsteps suddenly. Her heart jumped. She froze. A tall guard was walking straight toward her. Zira quickly hid the cloth under her cleaning cart and smiled nervously. The guard stopped and looked at her. His eyes were cold. "Zira," he said, his voice low and rough. "The captain wants water. You better not disappoint him again." Zira nodded quickly. She didn't say a word. The guard walked away. Zira exhaled, her hands shaking. Helping the human was dangerous. She knew the guards were watching now. She waited until the corridor was silent, then pushed her cart slowly toward the cell. The human looked up when she came close. "You didn't have to risk yourself," he said softly. Zira shook her head. "I want to," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "I'm Captain Jace Carter," he said, "but here they just call me the human." Zira liked that name, Captain Jace. It sounded strong and brave. They talked quietly for minutes, enough to share their stories without being heard. Zira told him about her small size and how no one believed in her. Jace told her about Earth, the blue planet full of water and trees. Zira listened, fascinated. She wanted to believe there was hope beyond Arc 7, but every story had a shadow. That night, she heard the guards talking. Outside, "The captain's time is short," one said. "Execution in 3 days." Zira's heart froze. Execution? She didn't know what to do. She wanted to save him, but was only a tiny cleaner. She went back to her quarters, thinking hard. Then she looked at her reflection in the cracked mirror. "You are small," she told herself. "But maybe that means you can be smart too." The next morning she began planning. She remembered the old tunnels used by workers long ago, dark and forgotten. If she could find a way through them, maybe they could escape. But it was risky. Very risky. Zira started searching the station's maps when no one was watching. She copied notes, drew lines, and memorized routes. She kept everything hidden in a small notebook. One day she almost got caught. While sneaking through the tunnels with a flashlight, she heard footsteps behind her. She held her breath and hid behind a large pipe. A guard passed by looking suspicious. Zira waited a full minute before moving. Her tiny body was fast and silent. She slipped back to her quarters, heart pounding. She knew the station wasn't safe, but she had to try. Every night she brought Captain Jace small gifts, water, food, bandages. They whispered plans and dreams in the shadows. Slowly, Jace's wounds healed. His spirit grew stronger. One night, Jace said quietly, "Zira, why do you help me?" "You don't have to." She looked at him, eyes shining. "Because you see me," she said softly, not as small, not as nothing, but as someone. Jace smiled. "You are the bravest soul I have met." Suddenly alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed. "Escape!" shouted a guard in the corridor. Zira's heart stopped. They had been discovered. Jace whispered urgently, "You have to leave. Now." Zira wanted to argue, to help, but the guards were coming fast. She backed away slowly, then ran, clutching her notebook. Behind her, she heard the heavy footsteps and shouted orders. The chase had begun, the chase through shadows. The alarms screamed, through Arc 7 like a storm, shaking the walls and rattling the pipes. Red lights flashed wildly, casting strange shadows in the narrow corridors. Zira's small legs moved as fast as they could. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the guards might hear it. Behind her, heavy boots thundered. The guards were chasing her. She clutched the small notebook tightly, the only map she had to a possible escape route. The tunnels were dark, dusty and confusing, but they might be their only hope. Zira didn't look back. She had to focus. Every corner she passed, every narrow passage she squeezed through, she memorized. The station was huge, but the tunnels were old, forgotten by many. And that was her advantage. She slipped through a vent just in time. The guards swarmed the corridor she had run through, shouting and banging their weapons against the walls. She heard them curse. Small pest. Where did she go? One growled. Ziri's antennae twitched nervously as she crawled through the tight metal vent. Dust filled her nose, and her muscles burned. But she didn't stop. She reached a hidden ladder and climbed down into a shadowy tunnel. It smelled of rust and old oil. Suddenly a voice whispered from the darkness. Ziri. It was Jace. She wasn't alone. He limped toward her, still bruised but determined. I made it, he said, eyes bright despite the pain. We have to move fast, Ziri whispered. They started walking through the tunnels, using the dim light from her small wrist lamp. The silence was heavy, broken only by their soft footsteps. Ziri kept glancing at the notebook. The tunnels twisted and turned like a maze. Every step felt dangerous. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a flicker of movement. Shadows moved, too fast to be guards. Wait, Jay said. We're not alone down here. Suddenly, strange creatures appeared, thin, spider-like aliens with glowing eyes. They were scavengers who lived in the tunnels watching for prey. Ziri's heart froze. The creatures hissed and circled them. Jace stepped in front of her, protecting the tiny alien. Ziri felt small and scared, but she refused to give up. Stay. Behind me, Jace said. The creatures lunged forward, but Jace used a hidden blade to keep them at bay. Ziri watched, amazed at his skill despite his injuries. One creature almost grabbed her leg. She kicked hard, hitting it on the side. It shrieked and ran off into the dark. Keep moving, Jace urged. They ran deeper into the tunnels. After what felt like hours, they reached an old maintenance hatch, a rusted door that led to the outer decks of Arc 7. Ziri pulled the door open with all her strength. It creaked loudly, threatening to give away their position. Jace crawled out first, then helped Ziri climb up. They were outside, under the vast black sky filled with stars. Freedom, but not safe yet. In the distance, Ziri saw flashing lights from the station's security drones. Jace whispered, "They're hunting us." Ziri looked at him, fear mixing with hope. "We have to find a ship," she said. "Anywhere." They ran across the outer platforms, careful not to make noise. Suddenly, Ziri stopped. "Listen." She heard a soft hum nearby. A small shuttle docked behind a cluster of cargo containers. "Could that be our way out?" Jace asked. Ziri nodded. They sneaked toward the shuttle. Jace's leg was hurting badly, but he didn't complain. When they reached the shuttle, Ziri tried the door. It was locked. Jace searched for controls. "Give me a minute," he said. Ziri kept watch, eyes scanning the dark. Then, out of nowhere, a loud bang echoed. Guards. They were close. Jace worked faster. Almost there. Suddenly the shuttle door hissed open. "Go," Jace said. Ziri jumped inside, her heart racing. Jace followed and sealed the door. She found the controls and started the engines. Lights blinked on. Systems came alive. Outside, the guards arrived just in time to see the shuttle lift off. Red lasers flashed, but the shuttle shot forward, slipping into the blackness of space. Ziri and Jace sat, breathing heavily. "We did it," she whispered. Jace smiled, pain fading for a moment. "But this is only the beginning," he said. Ziri looked at him, confused. Jace's eyes were serious. "They want me back. They want to stop us." Ziri's tiny hand closed around his. "We won't let that happen." Beyond the iron sky, the shuttle hummed softly as it slipped away from Arc 7, the cold stars stretching endlessly beyond the windows. Ziri sat beside, Captain Jace still catching her breath. The small space felt cramped, but it was freedom, fragile but real. Jace pressed a button, pulling up a holographic star map. Red dots blinked all over it, enemy ships, patrols, and dangers they had to avoid. "We're not safe yet," Jace said, voice low. "They'll send hunters after us. The station commanders won't let me go without a fight." Ziri's heart sank. She had thought escaping was the hardest part, but it was only the start. Where do we go? She asked softly. Jace stared at the map. There's a hidden base on a moon called Viridian. It's off the grid. A place where people like me find shelter. Ziri nodded. Then that's where we'll go. As the shuttle sped toward Viridian, Ziri looked out the window. The stars were cold, distant, like the hope inside her heart. Suddenly, the shuttle jolted violently. Warning! Incoming attack, the ship's computer warned. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. Jace grabbed the controls, twisting and turning to dodge something unseen. Ziri's stomach dropped. Missiles, Jace shouted. Outside, streaks of red light exploded around the shuttle. Ziri held on tightly as the ship shook. Hold on, Jace yelled. The shuttle spun wildly, then Jace pushed a lever and fired back. Tiny laser beams shot from the ships. Weapons. One missile exploded just meters away, sending shockwaves through the cabin. Ziri screamed. After tense minutes, the warning stopped. The shuttle steadied. Jace wiped sweat from his brow. They're not giving up, he said grimly. Ziri swallowed hard. Who are they? Why do they want you so badly? Jace's eyes darkened. I was part of a secret mission on Earth. I discovered something important, something they want hidden. The corrupt leaders of the Federation want me silenced. Ziri felt a chill run down her spine. Then we have to keep moving, she said. We can't let them catch you. Jace smiled faintly. You're braver than you know, little one. The shuttle finally reached Viridian, a gray, rocky moon with a thin blue atmosphere. As they landed, Ziri noticed strange shapes moving in the distance. Are they friend or foe? She asked nervously. Before Jace could answer, the shuttle's door hissed open. Figures in dark armor surrounded them, weapons raised. Ziri's heart stopped. Freeze, one shouted. Jace raised his hand slowly. Wait, I'm coming with a message, he said calmly. The leader stepped forward, helmet hiding his face. You're lucky we found you first, the leader said. The Federation has sent a bounty on you. Ziri looked at Jace, fear and hope mixing inside her. Jace nodded. I need your help, he said. The leader paused, then motioned them to follow. Ziri realized this fight was bigger than she thought, and their journey was just beginning. Secrets beneath Viridian, the armored guards led Ziri and Jace through a narrow tunnel carved into the rocky surface of Viridian. The cold air smelled faintly of minerals and something else, something ancient. Shadows danced on the jagged walls as their footsteps echoed softly. Ziri's small hands trembled slightly as she clutched her notebook. She had no idea what to expect. Jace walked beside her, moving with a careful, quiet confidence despite his injured leg. After several minutes, they entered a large cavern. The walls glowed faintly with strange blue crystals embedded deep inside the rock. It was like stepping into another world. This is the base, the leader said, voice steady, but low. Welcome to the Haven. Ziri's eyes widened. The Haven? The leader nodded. A refuge for those hunted by the Federation, rebels, scientists, and truth seekers. Jace looked around, relief mixing with caution. We're not safe. Yet. They'll be tracking us. Suddenly an alarm blared somewhere deep within the base. Red lights flashed again. Enemy ships detected. Incoming. A voice called out. Panic rippled through the crowd. Ziri's heart pounded harder. The leader barked orders. To your stations. Defend the Haven. Ziri glanced at Jace, eyes wide. This is war, he said quietly. They were rushed into a control room filled with holographic screens and blinking consoles. Soldiers prepared weapons and technicians worked quickly to organize defenses. Ziri felt overwhelmed, but something inside her sparked. She wanted to help. Can I do anything? She asked. Jace smiled. Yes, use that notebook. Confused, she opened it. The pages were filled with her own sketches and calculations, small designs she had made during her quiet shifts cleaning the station. We're going to hack their communication network, Jace explained. If you can help me decode their Signals. We might stop the attack before it begins. Ziri's eyes lit up. She nodded and leaned over the console, her fingers flying across the controls. Her tiny frame moved swiftly, surprising everyone. Minutes passed like hours. Then suddenly the screen flashed red. Missile launch sequence detected, Jace said grimly. Ziri's breath caught. We have to scramble their targeting systems, she said. Together they worked frantically. Sweat dripped down her forehead. The base shook as explosions rocked the surface. Outside, the sky lit up with fire and laser beams. Suddenly, a loud crash hit the base. The enemy had landed troops. Ziri's heart raced. Jace grabbed her hand. Stay close. They moved to a hidden passageway beneath the base. The walls here were cold and damp. As they walked, Ziri felt the weight of the moment. Their fight was bigger than just them. She asked softly, "What did you find on Earth?" "What is so important?" Jace's eyes darkened. "It's a secret that could change everything. A truth the Federation wants to erase." Suddenly the passage shook violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Ziri stumbled, dropping her notebook. Jace caught her just in time. "We have to keep moving," he said urgently. They ran faster, deeper underground. Then they reached a door, old, heavy, covered with strange symbols. Jace pulled out a small device and scanned the symbols. The door hissed open, revealing a hidden chamber filled with ancient technology. Ziri gasped. "This is from a lost civilization," Jace said. "They left behind knowledge that could free us all." But before they could explore, footsteps echoed behind them. The enemy had found them. Ziri gripped Jace's arm. "We have to protect this," he said fiercely. The chase was not over, and the secrets beneath, Viridian could change their fate forever. The heart of the lost tech. The heavy metal door slammed shut behind Ziri and Jace with a thunderous clang. Darkness swallowed the corridor outside. The enemy soldiers' footsteps faded, but their presence lingered like a shadow on Ziri's heart. Inside, the chamber, the pale blue glow from the ancient tech pulsed softly, casting eerie patterns across the walls. Ziri's eyes darted around, taking in strange machines covered in alien symbols, their surfaces humming with energy. Jace stepped forward, his fingers brushing over a large console embedded in the center of the room. "This technology is centuries old," he murmured. "It was designed to control energy, a power source unlike anything the Federation has." Ziri felt a shiver. Could this be the secret he'd risked everything to protect? "Do you think it's safe to use?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Jace glanced at her. "We don't have a choice. If we can unlock its power, we might stand a chance against the Federation's forces." Suddenly, the chamber trembled as distant explosions rocked the base. The attack was escalating. Ziri swallowed her fear. "How do we start?" Jace pulled a small device from his belt, a holographic key with flickering blue light. He placed it onto the console. The ancient machine whirred to life. Panels slid open, revealing intricate circuits glowing with energy. Lines of alien text flickered on a floating screen. Ziri leaned closer. "I don't understand these symbols." Jace smiled faintly. "That's where you come in." He handed her a tablet with a partial translation tool. "You're good with patterns and puzzles, right?" Her heart raced. This was the moment she had dreamed of, to prove herself beyond cleaning and hiding. Hours passed as Ziri worked feverishly to decode the symbols. The base shook again, closer this time. Her fingers trembled, but she refused to stop. Finally, a sequence clicked. The machine surged, sending a pulse of light through the chamber. Energy rippled like waves, and a holographic map of the sector appeared, showing hidden Federation bases and weak points. Jace's eyes widened. This changes everything. But before they could celebrate, the door behind them exploded inward with a shower of sparks. Soldiers poured in, weapons blazing. Jace grabbed a blaster, firing with precision. Ziri dodged behind a console, heart pounding. She saw her chance. A control panel with buttons glowing red. With trembling hands, she pressed one. A burst of energy shot out, knocking several enemies back. Jace smiled grimly. Nice work, little one. The fight was brutal but short. The enemy retreated, leaving the chamber silent once again. Jace leaned against the console, breathing hard. We can use this tech to fight back, he said, voice fierce. But it will make us a bigger target. Zira looked at the glowing machines, a fire burning in her chest. For the first time I feel like I belong, she said softly. Jace met her gaze. You're more than just little one, Zira. You're the heart of this fight. Outside, the battle for Viridian raged on, but inside this hidden chamber, a new hope was born, Rise of the Little One. The underground chamber trembled as the Federation's heavy bombers pounded the surface of Viridian. Dust fell from the ceiling, and ancient machines flickered uncertainly. Zira and Jace stood in silence, surrounded by the glowing blue circuitry of lost technology. Jace pressed his comlink. Command, this is Carter. We have the core. Prepare for transmission. A distorted voice responded. Copy, but the Federation's closing in. You've got minutes, maybe less. Zira looked up at Jace. We won't make it out, will we? Jace's eyes met hers, calm and steady. Not unless we make a stand, she took a breath. A small, fragile breath, but one that held courage. Suddenly, a series of alarms screamed across the base. Red warning lights flashed. Intruder breach. Level 5. Enemy forces approaching inner core. Zira's hands tightened around her notebook. Now worn and smudged, the drawings she had once scribbled during lonely shifts had become real. And now those designs could save lives. Jace turned to her. Can you activate the defense grid? I think so, she replied, rushing to the console. Her small fingers danced across glowing keys. The alien language no longer scared her. It welcomed her now, like she was meant to be here all along. Outside the chamber, steel doors groaned and bent under enemy fire. The Federation's elite shock troops had arrived. Zira found the override sequence and shouted, Jace, redirect the power conduit. He slammed a lever down just as the console blazed to life. Outside the chamber, turrets unfolded from the walls. Plasma shields crackled across entryways. The first wave of soldiers were vaporized in a flash of blue light. Inside, the chamber shook violently. They're bringing in fusion drills, Jace said. They'll tear through in minutes. Zira's eyes scanned the interface. One final system lay untouched. Core sync. Mental imprint required. It needs someone to connect directly, she said, voice barely a whisper. Jace frowned. What kind of connection? Zira stared at the alien text. It says, the heart. Must be true, the courage must be small, only then may the power rise. Jace's eyes widened. It's not a weapon, it's a message, a legacy. Zira stepped forward. The system responded to her presence. The lights turned a soft violet hue. She placed her hand on the core's heart crystal. Energy surged up her arm. Visions filled her mind. Images of tall, beautiful beings like her, kind-eyed and gentle, once protectors of peace, her ancestors. They had built this technology for balance, not destruction. Tears filled her eyes. Zira, Jace shouted. What's happening? I can stop the fighting, she whispered. But I have to give it everything. Jace ran to her. No, there has to be another way, she smiled. There always is, and this is mine. As the Federation troops broke through the final barrier, Zira's body glowed with light. Her tiny form floated off the ground, the core's energy wrapping around her like stardust. She thought of all the years she spent cleaning floors while others laughed. She thought of how no one ever saw her. No one. Until Jace. A pulse erupted. From the core, time seemed to freeze. Across Viridian and even in orbit, weapons powered down. Ships halted in midair. The invaders dropped their arms, stunned, and in their minds they heard her voice. No more fear. No more war. See with your hearts. The light faded. Zira collapsed gently into Jace's arms. He held her tightly, whispering, You did it, little one. You really did it. Tears streamed down his face. All around them, silence. then cheers. The resistance had won, not with fire, but with hope. 1 week later, the Federation signed a ceasefire. Viridian was declared an independent planet. A memorial was built above. The chamber, its walls lined with Ziri's drawings preserved forever. At its center stood a statue, small, 4 feet tall, but with a heart larger than the stars. Jace visited often, placing a violet flower at her feet. People used to look down at you, he whispered. Now they look up. The end.